So I haven't uploaded in 3 weeks. I uploaded a trailer about my collaboration with J Station, and ever since then I just disappeared. Not a lot of you guys know what happened to me because, well, the only platform that I update people on is on Instagram, and I don't really have that many followers on Instagram. This video won't have gameplay because of how serious this topic is. I just can't bring myself to talk over uh, gameplay for the story. I don't really want to edit this audio, I just want to talk. There might be some long, awkward pauses, but just open up a new tab, do some work, maybe open this up and go clean. Maybe you're driving, just listen to my story if you care enough to hear. Me and another person single handedly are shutting down a hospital with a massive lawsuit, and how this happened, how I got involved, the abuse and mistreatment that I went through was insane. It was like movie like, and I guess I just want to tell my story here. And yeah, this is why I was gone for so long. Partially was because I don't know why I just said partially was because I need to like articulate better. The reason why I was gone was also about me not getting a new PC. My PC that I had built just failed on me. Maybe I shouldn't be building PCs. At least I tried. It was a good learning process for me, but my hard drive just suddenly failed, and then the USBs would not connect, or like it wouldn't be detected, and I had done everything that I could to fix it. So if you PC nerds out there know what went wrong, you can let me know in the comments. But then I got a new PC on the very day that I was taken to a 1.8-star hospital full of fraud and abuse. A hospital sorry, I just don't want to edit this audio, like I fuck up my sentences sometime. But a hospital that will also, sorry, just consider this a fucking podcast because I really don't want to edit, but a hospital that lawyers have been trying to shut down for 4 years. 4 years they have been trying to, and me and this other person's case will single-handedly bring it down. I have a big lawsuit that I'm involved in right now. I'm going to get press. I'm going to be on TV soon, and this is all crazy to me. So, with that being said, even though this is really weird for me because I like to edit my audio, like I never script stuff because I just don't. Like I just like to, just talk to the mic. But you've already heard me fuck up a few times where I would just like repeat myself, or I don't know. You just hear my thought process while talking. So yeah, this is I guess the first kind of podcast it's very serious though on my channel. So like Leafy would say, grab your popcorn. I miss that man every day, and let's begin. I had been through a really bad breakup. I was in my first ever serious relationship with another YouTuber, but he was more than just a YouTuber to me. In fact, my flight to see him is next week, and hopefully he's gonna pay me back for how much it costed and the inconvenience. I feel alone in this world. I have always been very independent. I had lost my family a few years ago. Not to death or anything, but it was my choice to get away from constant emotional, verbal, and physical abuse. The last day that I had left my family was my stepdad on the floor choking me, and I was bruised, and I called the police, and they didn't help, and they treated me like a criminal. I warned them that my parents would lie, but they didn't. I don't know. I think it was a race thing because they were white and I wasn't, and I know that sounds so stupid. I used to be one of those people that would defend the police and say that, well, you shouldn't be acting up then, but I had been failed by the system, and ever since it happened to me, I completely understand why people don't trust the police. But that's a whole other story, and I'm not getting into that. I was forced to go to another state. I was just told that my bags were packed and I'm going to the airport. And once I arrived miles away from the state that I was, it was legitimately across the country. I was left with no phone, no one to contact. I was just stranded. It was embarrassing for me to have to use strangers' phones, talk to them, ask them if I could get some help. But that's a whole other story, like I said. Point being is I've learned to be independent from a young age since I was a minor. I would move a lot and I lost all of my friends because, they're adults now and we all have to move on with our lives. And now no one hits me up and I was just constantly going state to state fending for myself. So I had no one. I truly felt alone in this world. And every man that I would talk to were just fuck boys. You would confront them with solid evidence that they would be talking to other girls or something, and they would still just deny it to your face. I felt that if I were to ever get into a relationship someday in the future, that it would all be fake, and that I would have to acknowledge that as I get older, I will be undesirable and I will never find true love, because all men would want is for my looks, and if I were to grow old with one, they would just lust after someone younger. I felt that true love didn't exist. I still feel that way because of my very serious relationship failing. And honestly, I know it doesn't sound like I'm okay, but I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the thought of being alone because, I know at the end of the day I'll have a social life. I'll have YouTube. I'll have friends, even though they come and go. But relationship-wise, I know that I will be alone forever. I just have unconditional loyalty and love to give, and I never seem to get it back. Sorry, I sound ugly when I cry. So I'll just be brief about that. That's enough about that. I was in a relationship with someone that, I used to make fun of those I love you wars, those couples that would be like, no, you hang up, no, you, I love you more. But when I got into one, I understood it. He felt like my person. He would always tell me that if it were to end, it would be because of me. And that he'd never, ever leave me, but I was wrong. It was all a lie. And I guess with all those I love you wars, I won. So, with that being said, this is how I ended up in a hospital. For 3 weeks, my ex-boyfriend ignored me and suddenly just stopped giving me attention. He just got distant. He would lie to my face and tell me he was busy, and by the second week I kept confronting him persistently. I was like, please tell me if you're wasting my time, you're distant, tell me if you're cheating, tell me if you're not interested, because just let me move on. 2 weeks of just being ignored. No more good nights, no more good mornings, no more calls, no more hearing your voice. That's mental torture. Please don't do this to me because you feel like my soulmate, and it's just all coming down. It was out of the blue too. It wasn't that we had fights or because someone or me or someone was mistreating each other in the relationship. It wasn't like that. It was just out of the blue. He would constantly lie to my face and apologize and say that we would have a long call, but 2 weeks turned into 3 and 3 nearly turned into 4. The day before he broke up with me, he said that he loved me and that we're gonna have a very, very long call. I don't know why I waited patiently and loyally for 3 weeks, full of unconditional love. Reflecting on it, it was stupid, but at the same time, I kept asking him to please just tell me, and he just refused, so I couldn't move on. I just patiently waited and didn't know what else to do, because I had confronted him so much about it. I just don't know why people lie. Where was I going with this? Okay, yeah, so I would always, cry myself to sleep. Well, I was beginning to by the second week, just missing his voice, missing the calls before bed. And the first call that I get from him was a breakup call. And a day prior, he asked me if I would love him in a wheelchair or take care of him in one, and I said, I would take care of you for the rest of my life. just to be dumped the next day. You see, after telling my friends this, they think that something's off and suspicious and he was cheating or just something, and he refused to tell me. I remember in our breakup call, I said, listen, this is the last time we're gonna talk, just tell me. And he wouldn't. Suspiciously, on the third week, he randomly, at age 19, gained a nerve issue where he would eventually be crippled in a few years, and he had asked me if I would still take care of him and love him in a wheelchair, and I said I would for the rest of my life. But, I just don't get the same unconditional love that I would give to someone, I just don't get it back. I would have easily been his caretaker, I loved him. I would be with him through any hardship, he was my person. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, fuck that my soulmate shit, my love, like my person, I'm trying to say, like, us against the world, like, but anyways, said it was him and not me, and just generic shit. And then after I poured my heart out to him, and oh no, my PC turned off. Can you guys still hear me? Okay. Oh god. That was so weird, it shut off. Anyways, after I had poured my heart out to him, he then wanted to write me a paragraphs about why he thinks I'm intelligent and sweet and that I didn't deserve him and that he treated me like a piece of shit. And I said, really? You're gonna wait 3 weeks to finally text me some nice stuff? He would barely talk to me. I would maybe get just 5 texts from him a day or less. But I just wish he had done it sooner when I had confronted him all those times. I felt broken because of all, I told him everything. He knew me so well and how I felt about other men my age. He knew how I felt about them and how I had plans of being a single mother when I got older because that's how truly alone I feel, and I can't be with men, I just feel like I have so much unconditional love that I could never give back. But, and he just still did that to me. I had a very bad breakdown that concerned my friends. My friends who had my address decided to call the police. But that's where it took a turn. You see, by the time the police tracked me down, I was calm. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I have borderline personality disorder and severe depression, which are 2 things that I'm diagnosed with. I'm not diagnosed with anything else. I've had severe depression to the point I would let my hair get matted, but that's another story. Point is that I have borderline personality disorder. People think it's bipolar, but it's different. The difference is that bipolar, you can lose touch with reality, and with borderline, you don't, and I guess you could call it manic phases or whatever, the ups and downs that you get, the roller coaster of emotions is a little short-lived compared to actual bipolar, but it's very similar nonetheless. I think people with bipolar have it last for months, and BPD it's 30 minutes to an hour or something. But after 30 minutes I had calmed down. I was ready to sleep, but the cops wanted to talk to me immediately. I calmed down because Ryan called me. He's another YouTuber. His name is Scrubby. I called another friend previously, but he wasn't very comforting, and I don't blame him. I'm not comforting myself. If people come to me with very strong emotions, I'm just speechless, and I wish I wasn't that way. I wish I could be more comforting, but not everyone is good with that. But Scrubby, or just Ryan, I'll refer to him as Ryan, he was so comforting and gave me motivation, and when I felt that I had been at my lowest point, he was able to make me stop crying and be mentally better, and he made me feel happy, and I was smiling. But once he hung up, I just felt alone again, and my mind just went everywhere. Because the person that had mistreated me and lied to me for 3 weeks and lied about calling me the day prior to dumping me was just a week before our you know what's funny is my flight is in a week and that's our anniversary. And on our anniversary / my flight day, he gets paid that day. That's when he has to pay me back for the tickets. It's just sad that I just, it's whatever. So the police had tracked me down and asked me to go outside. They didn't come to my door. I had to walk down a few houses. At that point, I was taken. They didn't handcuff me for some reason. I thought that was standard procedure, but it wasn't. Everyone else that I had talked to at the hospital or facility that I was taken at said they had handcuffs, even the ones that came voluntarily. But I just didn't. I was just chilling in the back of a police car. I had noticed they passed a few other mental health facilities, and I thought that was strange, but they took me to one that I did not know at the time was a 1.8 star facility. And it's a 1-star for a reason. And there is some shit that happens in there. And this place has been, there has been lawyers trying to shut it down for 4 years. There's a lot. There has been patients raped there by the workers. They had to fucking rebrand one time and start all over because of how bad it was, but it's still bad. I think it was in 2005 after I did some digging. But that was, stuff that I didn't know. I thought it was just, a mental health place the police were describing. I had told the police that I have borderline personality disorder, but I am fine, and that, you have your ups and downs, but you calm down and I'm good to go, but they just didn't believe me. So this is where the hell started, but just know I don't regret a single thing because in the end I help people. Day 1, I enter the facility. The first thing I notice is a dead rat that had been there for a while, and I notice that it is very dirty. The rat had been there for a while because half of its body was flattened. You could just tell. It was filthy. I was put into a waiting room that was just as filthy. I saw substances all over the walls of brown, white, and red. The white substances were, I think, bleached off, and that's why it appeared white. There was some red splatters near a bunch of handprints on the wall, which really creeped me out, and I suspect it could have been blood, but I'm not sure why that wouldn't have been cleaned up. And then some brown splatters. The floors were filthy. They had mouse feces everywhere, but instead of sweeping it into a trash bag or something, they just swept it to the sides. I was just sitting on a concrete chair, just staring at the handprints. There were handprints in places that there shouldn't have been, that you wouldn't think is humanly possible. Just at the weirdest places. You know what I'm trying to say? That's really, up there. You'd have to be 8 feet tall to, you know what I mean? It was just strange. And there was a man named Michael that was sitting next to me. He asked me how old I was. I said 19. He rolled his eyes and said, "Kid, you shouldn't be here." He started giving me advice. He said, "Listen, they're good admission you here. These people will keep you here for life if you say yes to anything." He said this place is under investigation for fraud and abuse. I didn't really know what to think when he told me that. He said that they would ask me questions. Are you depressed? Have you ever been sexually assaulted? He told me that I don't care if it fucking happened to you. You say no. You got it? I said, okay, I got it. He started telling me about his life, how he ended up here, how he's been waiting for 4 hours on a concrete chair. He's in the Navy. I believe he has a wife, maybe a kid on the way, or already a kid. I forgot because as the days go by for me being back home, I'm starting to forget some details, but I'm going to tell it as I can right now because this is the freshest the story can get. His mom's a lawyer, and Florida is apparently one of the only states, there's I think another one, where you don't need evidence of someone being a threat to themselves or others to bring them in here. I believe, I could be wrong, could have been another patient, but I believe with Michael, he had a petty ex-girlfriend that found out him and his wife were in Florida just having a good time visiting, and then they were going to go back to New York, and I think the ex was, I don't know, she knew the laws and shit, so she just was petty and just called and said, he's suicidal. He was eating dinner at a restaurant with his wife, and he was detained and just was taken there. That's how broken it is. He said in New York and other places that you would need hard evidence. Otherwise, they're not going to fucking take you. They're going to maybe talk to you if there's an allegation, but they're not going to take you without evidence. But Florida is not one of those states. Even later on in the story, the nurses or whoever was, presenting something, there was groups there, was even talking about how broken they think that is and confirmed that, yeah, that is legit, that you don't need evidence to be detained in Florida. Oh god, my PC shut off again. Stop. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Sorry. So it wasn't just Michael's word, it was, the facility also saying the same thing. So he had finally gotten a room and he told me good luck and shook my hand and he left. And I was alone. At that point, it was 9 p.m. at night. I was in agonizing pain sitting on concrete chairs. And I was not trying to show sadness or grief or any emotion like that. I couldn't let out my emotions dealing with a breakup in a healthy way by releasing those emotions. I had to act normal, which was so hard and took great strength for me to do. I had to just sit there, and guess how long I sit there? I was there from 9 p.m. Do you want to know when I was finally admissioned? I got admissioned at 4:30 in the morning and then finally a room at 5. I was in agonizing pain. I was sore. I was soaked in urine, but I'll get to that in a minute. I was exhausted. I had been up for 24 hours. They wouldn't give me a room. I kept being told I'd be admissioned. They kept telling me there's other patients right now being admissioned and that there's a whole group, an admission group that's going to see me. But it was a lie. All of the nurses in there and the workers were African American with very broken English. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, and I know that sounds really fucked up of me to say, but you have to understand my story, and later on I'll tell you about a blind black man that was being abused there, saying that he hated black people there and he wanted a white person to take care of him. A blind man who happens to be African American said that. He can't see color. He doesn't know really, race. You know what I mean? To him, African American means broken English, as horrible as that sounds. And obviously, I know that's not the case for every African American. It really just depends where you grow up. It's not about race. But I'm gonna have to tell you my story and be blunt, so demonize me all you want. Because that's the internet. But they all had really, really bad broken English. They all appeared like they lived in a hood or something. There's a difference between saying dat, dem, it's whatever. I mean, even white people talk like that. But the way these workers talked in particular was a little bit beyond that. I mean, they really sounded like they came from the hood. I mean, no wonder this place is a 1-star. It's the workers. The fraud there, the doctors losing their license there. I'm sorry if this sounds horrible, but I have to tell my story the way it is. That was what I noticed, just the constant broken English. They would be playing on their phones, having a good old time, talking, laughing, playing music rap music, just whatever they liked to hear on their phones through a speaker. It wasn't really proper or professional. I kept every few hours, maybe every 2 to 3 hours, asking them, when can I get admission? I'm so tired, I'm exhausted. They kept telling me there was a whole admission group, like I said, seeing other people and I'd be seen soon, but it was a lie. It ended up being a nurse or whoever just was at that desk, whatever. There was like 10 people in there, mind you, all just in this tiny area, just doing whatever, having fun, and I would watch and wonder when they would just start doing their job. I was finally taken into a room to get admission, and it was the same nurse, not some admission group that they had been lying to me about. It was the same person that was there that had just printed out 2 pieces of paper and started asking me questions, and it was that. It was done within less than 10 minutes, and I had wondered why it took nearly 6 hours for them to do this, like 5 or I don't know. I was losing track of time despite the fact I had watched the clock go from 9 p.m. to 4:30 in the morning. Before I could be given a bed, I was told they needed my urine, and obviously I cooperated. Why wouldn't I give them it? You know, I've seen doctors before, I thought it was standard. They take me to a bathroom, and it was covered in urine all over the floor. There was towels soaked in urine on the floor, toilet paper sprawled out everywhere on the floor, everywhere soaked in urine. The toilet seat was soaked in urine. There was urine in the toilet with toilet paper in it. Whoever was in there had played with their urine, as there was some smothered substances on the mirrors and urine on the sink. When I stood in there, I had still had my shoes on because they didn't take it yet, and my shoes were soaked in urine. I had left the bathroom and peeped my head out and said, "There's urine everywhere." And a woman laughed at me and said, "If I were in your shoes, I would just take some toilet paper and wipe it up and use it." I said I can't because the toilet paper is covered in urine, soaked in urine. And they didn't care and just put me back in the bathroom. I was paralyzed and stunned. I just stood there for a solid 60 seconds, just like frozen, and just trying to take in my surroundings and just process what had just happened. And I knew I had to cooperate. I couldn't think of my heartache anymore. I knew that this was wrong. Everything Michael told me from the beginning was just starting to click. I knew that I was in trouble, or something felt so wrong. So after being frozen for a little bit, I nearly cried, but I didn't. I braced myself and I was like, maybe I could not make a mess, but I'm not a boy. I can't just put my dick in a cup and pee in it. I knew what I was about to do. I had pulled my leggings down. I couldn't just take them off because then I would have to take my shoes off, which were soaked in urine. And there was no place for me to put my leggings, as everything was just soaked in urine. So I had just squatted. Piss went down my leggings, my legs. I was soaked in my own urine. I didn't even pee all the way. I tried to stop it immediately, and once I got the pee a little bit in the cup, I pulled my leggings up and felt the warm urine just soak into my leggings, all down my legs and in between my thighs. I thought, okay, surely they're going to give me new clothes, hospital clothes, something, and give me a shower. I had given them my urine and complained. You could see the sadness in my face. I started crying over it. A woman that had just walked in, I started crying to her, saying that they forced me to soak in my own urine and wouldn't give me a clean bathroom. And she just didn't believe me. I told her about the dead rat and she just didn't care. She didn't believe me, and then went into that room with all the workers and I could hear her talk shit about me. I was finally given a room. I had asked them if I could take a shower. They said yes at first, and I felt relieved. But as one of the workers were walking me down to my room, she told me I couldn't wake up my roommate. I had a roommate in there that was, I didn't know at the time, but heavily drugged. She was just sleeping there, And I started crying. I started breaking down. I said, I am not a danger to myself or others, and I suspect people in here are dangerous, and I don't feel safe. She said I can't have a room by myself. She said not to wake her up, don't turn on the lights or shower. I said, but I'm soaked in urine, because you guys wouldn't give me a proper bathroom. She said, well, you can't wake up your roommate. She just walked away, and I had to sleep in my own urine, thinking maybe tomorrow I could shower. Day 2 came. It was hard for me to sleep that night, mind you. Heartache. I kept telling myself, he didn't message me for 3 weeks. If I come out of this hospital, I won't get a single text from him. Don't be sad. Just focus on getting out of here. I knew something was wrong. I had woken up that day. I was walking to the hallways, to the front desk to ask questions, but there was this man that was always sitting in the hallway. He was a worker, and he would say, you either stay in your room or go to the day room. But I kept getting mixed signals here. I would be told by the workers if I had any questions, if I wanted water, if I needed anything, to go up to the front desk. But every time I would try, that man would yell the same thing every time. I was just nervous and didn't know what to do. It was filthy in my room. Filthy. Boogers on the wall. Wasn't swept or mopped. Filthy mouse feces against the walls. Luckily, I didn't see another dead rat. I only saw one. I went to the day room and saw Michael, and there's a man named Dustin that approached me, and me, Michael, and Dustin were the only ones that were considered normal there. You see, this was Unit 1 that I was in. Unit 2 was a unit full of normal people that just had maybe anxiety, depression, bipolar, borderline personality disorder, but could still function just like any other human in this world. And Unit 1 was for people with schizophrenia or dementia or people that just couldn't really function right, people that needed to be heavily medicated. But we three knew we didn't belong there. We at least belonged in Unit 2. And as for Michael, he didn't belong there, period. He was on a trip with his wife. So, I go in there, and Dustin immediately asks me, how old am I and what's my name? Sorry if I sound nasally, it's just because I had cried in the beginning. I said, Ash. He was like, I see the sadness in your face. And I said, really? Because I started panicking because I knew if I had to get out of here, because it would be from a doctor, and I could be discharged from a doctor because the police lied to me and said I would only be there for 24 hours, but I was told not to trust the police by the workers when I got there, and said that they always lie to get you there, and that it's not 24 hours, it's actually a 72-hour minimum. But could be longer, could be weeks or months. I was terrified that it would have been months because I just looked like a mess. They didn't provide a toothbrush, a hairbrush, or anything. I looked different. I didn't recognize myself. I went back to my room and looked in the mirror, and I didn't recognize myself. I was sickly pale. So pale with a very gray undertone. I had red, grayish under eyes, very puffy. You could see the sadness in my eyes. I can't really describe it better than that, but wow, I didn't recognize myself. I went back to the day room and I panicked to Dustin. I said, what do I do? He said, you just have to have a smile on your face. I've been here 3 days. I'm going to get out soon, and you can too, Ash. You just got to put a smile on your face. Let's play some checkers. Let's do something. So we did. He helped a lot. Dustin gave me some good advice and was overall just looking out for me. He was a good dude. I really enjoyed his company there. It was the only highlight of Unit 1 for me. Michael was just chilling in his room most of the time, but occasionally he'd be in the day room. Just to let you know, I forgot to say Michael's age. I believe he's 31 or 32. in the Navy. But, I said that. And Dustin was 26, maybe 27. He had 4 kids. His baby mama left him. And honestly, the way he talked was kind of fuckboyish, but he was still a good guy nonetheless. Like, I could see why she left him, but nonetheless, he was a good dude. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, Mitzi. You guys are gonna learn about Mitzi. Mitzi, had dementia, and she looked straight like from a fucking horror movie. One of her eyes were like fucked up, just went the other way, and she was over 100 years old. She didn't seem like a problem at first. She would talk to herself during lunch and breakfast and whatnot, and walk around and scream some stuff that I could never describe. I mean, some of the stuff like movies wish they could replicate for horror films. The stuff that I heard from her mouth was weird. The sound, I can't I can't describe it. She started coming into my room threatening me with like a sharpened pencil, or it could have been a pen, I don't really know, but she put it to my throat. All of a sudden she snapped at me, and it was me in particular. I fucking hate young girls, young women. She would call me a shrimp constantly. I don't know why she would do that. She started saying something about 1932, and so I'm a spoiled brat, and I don't know. Just started going off on me and threatening me. She threatened to kill me. She was crazy. She was the craziest one there. Would always scream randomly and talk to herself and talk to a ghost named Marty, and she was just really creepy looking. I think she was like 100 something years old. I don't know, but she would walk around everywhere. I didn't necessarily think she was a threat, but at the same time she was, because I couldn't defend myself. If I did, I would have been there for months. I knew that I couldn't do anything. After 3 times of her waking me and my roommate up and putting like sharpened stuff to my throat, I had finally reported it. And they apologized. We're so sorry. We're gonna watch her, but that didn't happen, as she came in an additional 2 more times doing the same stuff. I reported it again. They said the same thing. They apologized and they're gonna watch her, but I had left my door open and started peeping, and she would just be roaming around the hallways, just doing her thing. No one would watch her, and I didn't feel the need to report it again because they just wouldn't do anything. She would still threaten me. She would still put stuff to my throat. Didn't matter how many times I would report it. I just had to let it happen. I was really creeped out and very uncomfortable. But no one else was a threat in there to me besides Mitzi, and there was 2 other men in there that were obviously fucked in the head, but they would name call me a few times, but I mean, it wasn't a threat. Was it depressing considering that the circumstances in my mental place? Yeah, but I was normal enough to understand if I were to do anything, then I would be locked there for a long time. I knew to keep my composure. I couldn't show sadness for my recent breakup. So I slept that night, occasionally waking up to panic attacks because of Mitzi. I never really experienced panic attacks, but I started really taking a toll on me, because at that point I had been soaked in my own urine for 48 hours. I had rashes in between my thighs. There were painters there that didn't care about our health and would just paint around us, and started painting everything. I don't know why. And I would cough a lot. I felt myself getting sick from the chemicals I was inhaling. But I had managed to sleep that night despite waking up to multiple panic attacks, Mitzi putting stuff to my throat, and the pain of having rashes on my thighs from being soaked in urine for 48 hours, being in the same clothes and bedding that's also soaked in urine. I woke up that day. I was told that I would see a doctor that day, and I was anxious. I had just, spent the day talking to Dustin, Michael, or just being in my room. But being left alone in a white room doing nothing is just mental torture. I was alone with my thoughts and I didn't know how to deal with it, but all I knew is at the end of the day I had to not do anything stupid, say anything stupid, nothing. I didn't want to stay there for months. I finally saw a doctor. Little did I know this doctor was in the process of losing his license, but I didn't know that in the facility. How would I know that? What I did notice immediately was how unprofessional he was. I was taken into a room. He just wanted me to get it over with. I couldn't really speak about my borderline or what I'm diagnosed with. He tried to get me on medication for stuff that I'm not diagnosed with, and I was like, listen, I only have borderline and maybe depression. Why would you put me on stuff I'm not diagnosed with? And he's like, I just suspect that you have it. And I'm like, no, at least diagnose me. Like, at that point, I wasn't just cooperating. I was standing up for myself. He was rude and very unprofessional. He said he would transfer me to the second unit, and I felt a sense of relief. He said it would happen within an hour. I waited an hour and nothing really happened, and at that point I had realized in that facility that whatever time or day they give you, you should multiply it, double it, triple it, because they're so inconsistent and so unprofessional. The doctor didn't even dress like a doctor. He was in normal clothes. It was bizarre. So I waited and had to sleep it off because I was so anxious and alone with my thoughts. There was nothing else I could do besides either go through mental torture or try to sleep with the broken heart and being soaked at this point a little over 48 hours in urine. I was miserable. So miserable. And the fact that I had had panic attacks and I cried heavily over Mitzi and stuff like that, and it was getting to me really bad, but I knew around the workers not to be like that, I was composed for the most part. So 5 hours went by. And within those 5 hours, I was woken up by Mitzi threatening me with stuff to my throat again multiple times. I had a panic attack with a severe chest pain from it. Oh, my PC turned off. My PC! Okay, it's back. Like I said, I don't know if it cut off. I had severe chest pain from the panic attacks and being woken up by Mitzi. I went to the front desk and said I was supposed to be transferred to the second unit. And, I heard heavenly things about it, but I didn't tell them. I was just telling you my thought process, that it has snacks and food and you can shower and stuff like that. And it was nicer there, and there was phones and, a bunch of them. And stuff to do. You weren't just trapped in a room. That's all I could think about was the second unit. It was no more, I need to get out of here. It was just second unit, all in my mind. So I went to the desk, like I said, and said I was supposed to be transferred. They went through my folder and said, no, there is no transfer note from your doctor. I broke down. I start crying heavily. I hyperventilate. I could barely breathe to the point I could talk. They couldn't make out what I was saying. I was hyperventilating severely. And then when I was able to talk after hyperventilating, I said, he lied to my face. He lied to my face. He lied to my face. I'm supposed to be transferred to the second unit. Please, do something. Call him, please. And I continued to hyperventilate. One lady tried to calm me down. She said, okay, listen, he forgets to write people's notes down and transfer stuff all the time. And I thought in my head, all the time? How unprofessional. I went through 5 hours waiting. I had to wait more. They called him and it was an agonizing 2 more hours. I was hearing the nut jobs talk, me being threatened constantly, them not caring if the nut jobs would trespass into my room and threaten me. They didn't care. They didn't care at all. I was the only stable person there besides Michael and Dustin, and, I am in awe that a mental health facility would allow people to threaten each other and not care if weapons are being held to their throat. If someone has mental problems, that's not okay. They finally got me transferred to the second unit. When I had walked in there, I immediately noticed there was no mouse or rodent feces, rat, whatever it was, and yeah, there was dirt. Whoever cleaned there would just sweep stuff to the sides, but it was cleaner. The first thing I asked for was a shower and some new clothes. I was just exhausted because I went through so much mental torture, like I said, with the breakup, soaking in urine, being threatened constantly, being on edge, not being able to sleep right, all this stuff, being mistreated. So, the fact that I was supposed to be transferred there within an hour in the morning, but it took until night, really bothered me. But I was there, and I was given a room with a normal girl. She just had bipolar, and, I got to know her a little. I'll tell you about her later. Her name is Tasha. And I showered. And I was given hospital clothes, and they had taken my clothes to wash. And when I jumped into the shower, it was euphoria. Just euphoric. I was there for an hour just feeling the water against my skin, and I had thought to myself that I had taken showers my entire life for granted. I was so happy. I had the widest, biggest smile on my face. When I smile in person over anything, I always have my mouth shut. I have one of those cheeky little smiles. I never smile with my mouth open, but I was in that moment, and I just felt good. But my feet were starting to hurt. So I got out, got dressed, went into the day room and learned. I was told at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. that they would lock the doors. I thought they would lock us in it, and I was scared, but, more mental torture. Oh God, was there stuff to do in there? At least? But they actually meant lock us out of it, because we were forced to be in groups and stuff. I was told the reason for this is because if you're left in a room alone, especially with nothing to do, it's kind of mentally not good for you. And I thought to myself, then why do they do that in the first unit? That is so strange. Before I went to bed that night, I learned a little bit about my roommate Tasha. She was very nice and normal. We were the same height, around the same weight as well. She was 31 but looked 20. She looked so unbelievably young for her age. She had a child. He's 8 years old. He has autism. She has bipolar, and the reason she was there, it was all voluntary. And I had asked her, why did you voluntarily come to a 1-star place? And she said, I don't know, anything. I just don't want my son to see me, go through any bipolar manic phases. And, he has autism. I don't, and I'm a single mom. I don't want to do that. I said, fair enough. I just wondered why it couldn't have been another place. But I didn't question it after that. I felt relief because even being in the day room briefly that night, I had realized that everyone there is normal. Again, it's just people with anxiety or depression. It wasn't no nut jobs, no Mitzi, no one threatening me. Or so I thought. I'll get to that later. So there is a movie going on in there, and I was told that I could freely get snacks and drinks in there and help myself. I immediately felt better. So then I slept that night. I spent another day there. I woke up, went to the day room, got breakfast. And this really hurt. I saw a boy in there that looked exactly like my ex. Sorry if I don't say this word properly. I never really talk or have said this word. Doppelganger, you know what that is? I didn't realize that it was a doppelganger, of my ex. But it was. I realized that when I left the facility. The first thing I noticed was his eyebrow scar. My ex had an eyebrow scar. They both got it from incidents. It was bizarre. The same eyebrow. Both had, I think, blue eyes. I would stare into that guy's eyes. I'm pretty sure it was blue. He had a more defined jawline, but still a baby face. They had the same teeth. They were both white and really cute. I didn't think he was over 18, but when we went on a smoke break, I was like, wow, I didn't know you could smoke. He's like, yeah, it's the baby face. He's 18 years of age. he had really big teeth, and some of my friends, when they saw my ex-boyfriend, the first thing they said was, wow, that guy has some big teeth, like as a joke. He had really two big front teeth, really big. I don't know, I can't emphasize that enough. And you couldn't see any other teeth when he would talk. It was just his two big front teeth, none of his bottom teeth or anything. And it was the same with that guy. But what was really, really absurd to me was that they had the same scar. You know, I get doppelgangers with, like, facial features and stuff, but the same scar on your eyebrow? I knew this was real life, but I was just, I don't know, it was hard for me to look at him. I was just shocked. How do you have the same fucking scar and look exactly like him? How? It agitated me. Same fucking scar and teeth. How is that possible? So, he was cool though. He was outgoing, friendly to me. Sure, he was depressed. That was the only thing he had. He didn't have any other problems. He was really cool. He started talking about gaming and stuff. CS, Siege, Overwatch. When he said Siege, I immediately felt some type of way. He was cute. And honestly, even though he looked very identical to my ex, he was even cuter than my ex. He had a more defined jawline. He had a little more of a baby face, but same, the eyebrow scar still gets to me, man. Fuck. But his personality was just great. I was just starting to get butterflies for him, but I know he wouldn't feel the same way. I came in there like a hot mess. I didn't look normal. My hair was fucked up, I knew he wouldn't like me, but man, when he said he played Siege and I assumed he was on PC because he said CS, he liked CS, but it was PlayStation. He slid me a note with his PSN, and it felt like middle school, when you get butterflies and your middle school crush passes you a note. I'm sure that doesn't happen anymore as middle schoolers have phones now, but, it just felt like one of those. So, I'm getting spammed. Anyways, sorry, I checked my phone. He made me happy in there. There's another boy in there. Oh, by the way, the dude that looked like my ex was named Nick. I don't know if I said that yet. Other guy in there is named Scott. He's into the YouTube drama thing. I don't know, it was weird when I started talking to him because he said he loved YouTube drama, and I was uncomfortable, I don't like people that like drama. But nonetheless, he was kind of cool. He had a good personality as well. He was into games. Wasn't as cool as Nick though. I don't know. I feel like Nick was more chill. But yeah, both were cool to talk to. It was good for me to talk to them. I think the Scott person took more interest in me and wanted to talk to me a lot. I had ended up telling him 2 stories, including my not safe for work story that's on my channel. About the time I was 14 and, pony fucker, but whatever. Yeah, I was told I would have a discharge plan by day 3. They had lied to me. The papers they give you when you first get admission say you will get a discharge plan within 24 hours, but when I confronted the nurses in the second unit, they said that's outdated. They need to update that because that's on day 3. But I was on day 3 and did not receive a plan. I was getting stressed, man. I was like, I'm never going to get out of here. They're so inconsistent, I didn't want to spend another day there. Michael had been complaining he's not getting out. They keep lying to him as well. So day 4 comes. Day 4. Oh. Man. Day 4. Me and Michael realize we're not going to get out. He's been talking to a lawyer. Like I said, his mom's a lawyer, and the mom got a really good lawyer that has been trying to shut down the very facility that we were in for 4 years. And, he got the number through her, I believe. And, that very day he got a paper where it was like, you are holding Michael, and then, insert his last name here. I don't really want to dox him on it, I don't know. But then again, we are going to be on the news, so you might know his name anyways. But you are holding Michael illegally for fraudulent purposes, blah, 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 blah. You're just like this fucking lawyer shit. And I was like, whoa. Whoa. Sorry if I sound deep, by the way. My voice gets deep when I'm sad. I usually have like a high, like feminine voice, but it's just I'm sad, you know. I was like, "Can you help me?" He's like, "I got your back." Yeah. He's like, "This place is fraudulent. You know, my lawyer just told me some shit." I said, "What did he say?" Well, the lawyer that came here was walking into the room where the doctor was in that saw Michael. The same doctor that I saw was very unprofessional and rude. He's in the process of losing his license. And, you know, I was just spacing out. The lawyer heard the doctor say on the phone that Michael was mixing alcohol and pills together to set him up. Michael never said that, first of all. Right off the bat, that's a lie. And also, he told me to say no to everything. Plus, he's in the Navy, completely normal, most normal guy there. The guy that told me not to say yes to anything, and you think he wants to get the fuck out. He's a normal fucking guy. He has no mental problems. He's not diagnosed with a single thing. Not a single thing. Isn't that, like, crazy? And he was being told, or, you know, doctors were lying to milk his insurance. The dude had really good insurance. He's in the fucking Navy. He makes good money, too. Mom's a lawyer. He has good insurance. And they were milking it. The lawyer said this was a setup because this is how they're going to set him up. Doctor lies about it, right? I mean, the doctor's losing his license for a reason. He's been exposed for fraud so many times and fucking up patients' lives. You know, I didn't know that until that day, and then when I got home and started doing research, but that's besides the point. Let's just focus on the fact that the doctor was lying, right? And the setup is that, you know, that night he goes to take pills, the pill that the doctor is prescribing, and he's like, "No, I'm not taking that." Because why would he? The doctor lied. Well, you're not going to take your meds. You're going to have to stay here longer. You're disobeying us, you know? It's a setup. So that's why he needed to get his lawyer. And the lawyer ended up being a witness. A lawyer and a witness. Because he had just heard the doctor fucking lie. That's insane. And that facility hated that lawyer. That lawyer has helped so many people get the fuck out of that place. People that were being held there against their will illegally. So, sorry for the long pauses. It's just a podcast though, so whatever. So, fuck, sorry, I'm getting a bunch of texts and I'm really sad that my ex never doesn't, whatever. So, I got this lawyer's number. He said to call him. I did. I told him everything. I said, "Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm in the same boat as Michael." I told him about the urine, the rat that I saw, the mistreatment that I've been through. I said, "I'm only 19 and only make about $2,000 a month. I can't pay the money that Michael had paid you." Michael paid a lot to this guy. Had his mom take some shit out of his savings and fucking paid it. No, I couldn't do that. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'm going to help you." He said he would talk to me in the morning, and he told me to keep an eye on a person named Glenn. He said, the guy in the wheelchair. Remember the black man that was blind in a wheelchair that I told you about earlier, which I know there's going to be a million commentary channels demonizing me for being blunt and speaking my story and maybe calling me a racist, you know, fuck it. I'm Ecuadorian, by the way. I'm a person of color, but anyways, I don't know why I feel the need to even explain myself for that. I just know how the internet is, but whatever. Glenn. He's blind, he's disabled in a wheelchair, and he's an African-American man. Maybe in his 30s or 40s. He was blind his whole life. He was born that way, but he was being abused by the workers there. He told me, "Listen, you keep an eye on the guy in the wheelchair. You give me some press about this. I get you to talk to the news. I'll help you get out of here." He was pretty much saying I didn't have to pay him a dime. I was thankful. I said, "Yes, I'll give you all the intel that I can about him. I'll watch him." I woke up that day feeling happy. Just to let you know, they put me on pills and didn't respect my wishes not to be medicated. I was put on pills that made me feel euphoric, and then when I took them the next day, I didn't feel the same. You know, it's never like your first time. They were strong. I remember I was laying down in bed that night and smiling like a fucking psycho. And I was intentionally, I just knew something was off when my eyes just drooped down a little. I was like, wait a minute, something's. And I'm laying there and I didn't want to sleep because I felt so good. Stayed up for 2 hours and I started intentionally thinking of stuff that would hurt my feelings, that would make me cry. How my ex mistreated me and just left me like a piece of shit after 3 weeks waiting for a call to hear his voice. And finally when I hear his voice, it's a breakup. And it didn't affect me. I just had the biggest smile on my face. It was pure euphoria. I started craving it. Whatever they gave me, I was craving it. My hands were starting to shake. I didn't think that would happen, you know? With drugs, don't you have to take stuff for a while to feel withdrawals and stuff like that? I was wondering what the fuck they gave me. Why were my hands shaky? People would notice it in the room. And my pinkies in particular, they were both numb and slightly purple. I went days with numb pinkies. I didn't know how to control it, and they were both shaking. Slightly purple and numb pinkies. The people would notice in the room, but when I would confront the nurses about it, they didn't do anything and didn't care. That's besides the point. Yeah, the drugs never felt the same after the first time, and I just started getting depressed. It was something I started to look up to throughout the day, something I wanted to look forward to, you know, to keep me by, but I guess it just wasn't the same. So anyways, that day had come where the lawyer was going to come talk to me at 10. It was a little after, I would say in the afternoon. This was the day I got out. I think. Oh, no. I'm missing some details because I'm, telling the story and it's not as fresh because it happened. I just got out though. Let's rewind. That night, as I called the lawyer, I apologize. I deeply apologize. Okay, let's just go back to one day before. I didn't mean to skip ahead. I had some more details, okay, about Glenn and stuff. I was done talking to the lawyer, and Michael went outside for a smoke break. There was a girl that was transferred from the first unit. Her name was Patty. After talking to that lawyer, it was late at night. She got transferred to Unit 2 around the same time that I did, and it was really late. They probably told her it would be in the morning, but you know how they are. She was off. People noticed she probably belonged in the first unit. She would talk to herself, and she was a little off. She was nice to me at first. She came into the day room and said, "Hey, my name's Patty. I think I'm going to be your roommate. What's your name?" I said, "Ash." She said, "Oh, that's a nice name, Ash. Not Ashley? Not." I said, "Yeah, it's Ashley, but I go by Ash." She's like, "Wow, that's unique. Back in my day, Ash wasn't really a girl name." I said, "Well, the name's Ash. What's up?" She was like, "Where can I get some coffee?" And I, helped her and directed her to get some coffee. I didn't really think much of it. I noticed she did start talking to herself, and, Michael looked at me and, looked at me in a way, like, trying to say, like, you should stay away from her. I'm getting some Mitzi vibes, what I'm trying to say. So, I was like, whatever. Yeah, but at that point, I was off the phone with the lawyer, and then Michael went out for a smoke break, like I said, and I went out there as well. But as I was walking to go to the smoke break, Patty just freaked on me, dude. I didn't know why. It was just random. Oh no, my PC turned off again. Okay, you guys can hear me. So, like I said, so Patty started going off on me before I even had the chance to hit the door. She just puffed her chest out at me, Started becoming physically aggressive. She threatened to kill me. She threatened me multiple times, started cursing me out. Told me if I had shit to say it to her face. I said, "What? What? I was just really nice and helped you get caught." I don't know. She was a nut, dude. She would talk to herself, so figures. The nurses looked up. It was right in front of the desk. And you know what they did? They just looked back down. The nurses were very ghetto. They looked like they came from the fucking hood. Not that that's a bad thing, though. I feel like everyone has their rough upbringings and hardships. I know I've had mine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with your upbringing being from the hood. Problem is, there's a problem if you're working in a mental health facility and you're from the hood. Unless you change your lifestyle, I really don't think people that are literally that live in the hood should be helping people with mental health. That's just, when you think of professionals like that, you think of them as someone that lives a decent life, lower middle class or higher life at the very least. So, that obviously I didn't care. That was being threatened. Michael goes up to them and says, "Hey, she just threatened Ash." Looked up at him, looked back down. I said, "Can you remove her from my room? Her bed's right next to mine. She just threatened me multiple times." They looked up at me and looked down and went back to work. I paused for 30 seconds. I confronted them again. I said, "So that's it? You're just gonna let her threaten me like that? You're not gonna remove her, or at least remove me to a different room?" They knew what I had been through with Mitzi. I had told them prior. I said, "You're just gonna let me deal with this again like I did with Mitzi and have panic attacks? This woman has been threatening me and did it in front of you guys. They just ignored me." One nurse stood up, left that area, and was walking down the hallway to go to the smoke break. And instead of saying it to my face, he said as he walked down the hallway, "You're grown." I raised my voice and said, "I'm a teenager." And listen, I get that I'm a grown teenager, but nonetheless a teenager, and I was terrified in there. I'm short. I can't. She was a grown woman compared to me. He said, "You're grown, deal with it," and walked away. I had recalled the lawyer. He said to just document everything and write it down. I said, okay. I remembered to keep tabs on the Glenn person. I went outside for the smoke break, and Michael's just standing there waiting for a cigarette from Evan, the nurse that had told me I am grown and did not remove Patty or anything from my room or remove me. I was bracing myself because I knew that if I were to defend myself, I would be trapped there for months. I said to myself, I'm hopeless, defenseless. I have to take a beating if I get one tonight. Because if I were to retaliate, I know I would stay here, and my goal is to get out. It takes great strength to accept a beating. You would want to instinctively defend yourself, at least I would, but it took great mental strength for me to understand, Ash, you cannot defend yourself. To tell myself and go against my instinct not to do it just to get out and survive. To me, I was going in survival mode because of the lack of water they would give you. They would give you a little small hospital cup of water. And if you kept asking and asking and asking to get like a bottle's worth, it would get annoying. And I suspected, they might not like me and might discharge me even later. I was too scared to keep asking for water. I felt dehydrated. In fact, I was dehydrated. When I got home, not to be TMI, but I've already talked about me being forced to sleep in urine for 48 hours. My piss was gold. It's usually white or a very, very light yellow because I love my water. It was the darkest fucking gold. I was so dehydrated. I went outside and, talked to Michael a little bit. There's Evan. I said, I told Michael, the lawyer told me to document everything, including Glenn and what just happened to me and how they're not removing the girl that threatened me. I looked at Evan, Evan's looking at me telling Michael this, and I said, your name's in this book, buddy, because I'm going to sue you. He immediately got nervous and said that he was going to remove her, and he did. He didn't remove her because I was being threatened. He did because he didn't want a lawsuit, and he knew my lawyer. He knew that this guy was known in this facility, and he's hated there. She got removed. The girl starts crying. She starts acting scared of me like a victim. Even the next day, she would just keep a distance. She would, you know what I mean by when I say act like a victim? Just like look at me scared. Oh, I'm so scared. But anyways, I kept tabs on Glenn. Here's the abuse that I witnessed for Glenn. And how he was a black blind man that said that he hated black people. It was sad. It was really sad to hear that from a black man. Because black people come from, at least no, African Americans, my bad, not just any black people, but African Americans in particular come from a really rough history. When they see each other, they're like, that's my brother, they kind of have that because of the racial tension. They're supposed to look out for each other, You know what I'm trying to say? Because I have black friends that tell me this shit. That's kind of how it is. That's why they all stick together at school or something, And it's just sad to hear a black man say that he hates black people. It kind of broke my heart. But he's blind. To him, black people means improper English. As harsh as that sounds. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, this is just from Glenn's, a blind man's perspective, and that's what it means to him. I'm not a fucking idiot. I know that not every black person on this planet talks with improper English. It's not a fucking thing. It just depends on where you grow up. I know white people with fucking broken English that talk like complete fucking fuckboys. Trust me. It's about where you are in your upbringing. Anyways, he had spilled hot coffee on himself. It didn't have iced, obviously. And he starts screaming that it's hot and it hurts. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Change me. The nurse said, nah, I've changed you 3 times. I'm not going to change you again. You're going to wait for this nurse to do it tonight before you go to bed. He was burning with hot coffee. He said, the nurse, forgot what her name was, but the nurse was a black woman, and he said, he dropped his coffee more, and he said, I hate black people. I want a white person to take care of me. And everyone in that room started laughing. They thought it was hilarious. Oh, wow, it's funny. A blind man doesn't know he's black. He just said he hates black people. It's so much deeper than that. He's blind. He can hear and smell. Black people to him in that facility means people that mistreat him and people with broken English. White people to him in that facility meant people with proper English and people that treated him well. Every time he was with a white nurse, he would be happy and smiling, but when he was with a black nurse, he would look miserable. It was bizarre. And it's coming from a blind black man, so don't fucking demonize me. The white nurses there treated me substantially better than the black ones there. And they seemed to be very proper and kind. There's also 2 African American women that were nurses that actually had proper English and were very kind to me. So it wasn't every African American there, but for the most part the African American staff were mistreating people and they literally lived in the fucking hood. I was shocked that they could even have a job like this. But the 2 that were actually really nice to me were so nice and pleasant, and one girl had my back. She was a good nurse. She gave me advice, and she even washed my clothes for me. She was great. Anyways, I had reported back to the lawyer how Glenn, the blind black man, said that he hated black people. I felt nervous telling him that. I was like, I'm not racist. I'm just telling you what happened, man. He was like, no, I completely understand what you're trying to say. A lot of these people are from the hood. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, damn. He said, you're lucky. I said, why? He said, you're getting piggyback because I'm here. The only thing I want you to do is talk to the news out there. They're going to be waiting for you. I said, no, I look horrible. My hair, blah, 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 my hair, please. He was like, okay, but I'm just going to call you when you get home and we're going to arrange for you to be on TV, okay? I said, okay. Before I left, I had thanked Michael. I had the biggest smile on my face. He's like, give me a hug. I hugged him. I said, I wouldn't be out of here if it wasn't for you. You helped me. When you told me to say no to everything, you helped me. You've been here since day 1. And it just sounds like a movie, We came in at the same time, left the same day. We were there for the same duration from the start to finish. Wow, was it just kind of crazy to think that if I had been there a few hours later or at a different day, that it would have went so much worse. I would have been there for months probably without his guidance. I couldn't thank him enough. I said, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. He wrote down his number. He said, give me a call because I'm going to be out of here soon. I'm going to go back to New York. Just let me know you're okay. I was getting discharged before him, which was confusing, but I left. And that morning I had told the workers there at the front office, let me pack And they didn't believe me. They rolled their eyes. I said, my lawyer will be here. They rolled their eyes and said, whatever, go to the day room. But when my lawyer showed up, they looked surprised. And then when he left, one of the women there made a joke like, wow, Ashley wasn't joking. She said, my lawyer will be here in 30 minutes. And there he was. And they all started laughing. I left. Didn't talk to reporters. Was waiting for my lawyer to get back to me. But I will be on TV. Michael's witnesses and vice versa. We're there for each other in this lawsuit. The lawyer says that he could probably shut this place down. He's been trying to for 4 years, and our case is going to help a lot, especially if I get press, I get coverage about this. We're on TV for it. Michael was thrilled to be on TV over this. He said he wanted to. I go home distressed. Remember that ex that had it wasn't really his fault that I was there necessarily. It was the police luring me there and lying to me. But remember when I tried to cope and I kept telling myself I'm not going to get a single text back from him? I unlocked my phone and there wasn't a single text. Not one. From the person that said he wanted to grow old with me and marry me and that he'll love me even after this breakup. Bullshit. I texted him. I said, wow, man, nice to know you cared. If this happened to you, I would have texted you a few times. No response. He would post about him ordering Domino's and stuff, and my subscribers were getting upset with him because he's also a public figure. They would DM me screenshots or post comments on my Instagram pictures saying, oh my god, he's really the most heartless asshole I've ever seen in my fucking life. Dude's ordering Domino's while you're suffering. Not even a single text. And in that moment, as hurtful as it was good for me to know he didn't give a fuck about me. Because I had the most unconditional love for him. I don't want to go on too much about that. But that was good for me to know. I'm glad he didn't text me once. I had called Michael when I got home twice. He didn't answer. I assumed he was either still there or he got discharged and he's on his way back to New York and couldn't call me. I started doing some research about the place. It's a 1-star place. It was renamed in 2005 because it had such a horrible reputation. They tried to cover it. Before the name was changed and shit, there was a serial rape crisis happening there. All the victims, for some reason, were white, blonde women. This was for the years, I think 19-something to 2005. All blonde women, and they had to be white for some reason. And there is horrific abuse there. Where they would try to fight the rape, they would be thrown on their concrete bed. Where they had their clothes ripped off. They would inject them to make them stop fighting with a needle. They had bruises from the needles being just injected roughly into them with some sort of substance to drug them, and then they'd be raped. There's more than one rape victim. There's a lot of them. And as for how it is now, with what the facility is now, it is full of fraud. All the reviews, please don't take your loved ones here. Some of the reviews shocked me. I was appalled. I had similar reviews with this, stuff that I went through, other people went through as well. One said that they were so inconsistent and they had found out that they would intentionally lie about your discharge dates and be inconsistent to see if they would get a rise out of you. So if you did, or if it did work, they would keep you there longer, milk your insurance, and say you're just nutty. doctors there constantly losing their license, which the one that I saw is in the process of it right now. Michael told me he'd be surprised if he didn't lose it within a week. Place has been known for abuse and fraud. It's nothing but business to them. A red flag was I was told by the doctor when I leave the facility or get discharged I would have a 2-week supply of medication that they gave me, but I didn't. I just left with nothing. That right there is a red flag. That's not professional. Sorry for that weird noise. I go like sometimes. I don't know. I mean, just reading the reviews, I was appalled. Let me see if I can pull some stuff up on my phone real quick as I'm talking. Maybe I could read a few things. No, it's not everything, but you know. Let's see. Every time I look in the mirror, I get a reminder of my time here. The workers ripped my nose in half, and now I have permanently torn cartilage and a nice scar down the side of my nostril. I had blood poured from my face like a faucet, and I went into shock, had a panic attack, rolled around in it until it coagulated on the floor, and they couldn't get it off. No stitches, no hospital. Myself and my emotions were swept under a rug, pushed into a dark space. Don't send anyone suffering from a mental illness here. Anything can happen. I would have pursued legal action, but I definitely went ham and broke down the padlock door in the nurse's station. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, what's another one? Horrid. This place needs to be shut down. The way they treat the patients and the family members is absolutely atrocious. My sister is now suffering from PTSD after spending 5 days in this facility, being screamed at by staff, ignored, left untreated, threatened, laughed at, belittled, and broken down to a point. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. The nurses mistreat people. They eavesdrop on phone calls. They don't let you use pens. They complain if you come to them about anything like a toothbrush or soap. That's correct. I did not receive anything. My teeth got yellow, in fact, actually. They come in at 5 a.m. to take your vitals, and then if you sleep in and miss therapy, there must be something wrong with you. Not to mention, the psychiatrist should lose all their license for prescribing and forcing people to take medication after a 5-minute consultation with you. They falsely try to diagnose people as well, and they magically know what mental disorders you have, which is usually multiple. They also try to purposely get a rise out of you by telling you you're going to be leaving, and in the last minute change their minds to see how you react in a negative situation. I was lucky and had people look after me while I was there, as I was the youngest person there. However, these patients were better to me than the staff, which is very true. I can relate to a lot of these reviews. I just dropped that on my keyboard. They purposely keep you there until your insurance runs out, so ready or not, they'll kick you out when it does, and they do not provide the medicine that you should be left with. But God forbid you're ready to go before it does, because they will keep you until it runs out. It felt like I was in prison, and the only thing this place did positively was keep me from breaking down ever again, so I never have to go back. That's literally what I went through. Take me and everyone else's advice and do your best to keep you and your family away from this place. The goal is for people who need help to get better, not to cheat them and make them feel crazy. I'm truthfully sympathetic to anyone who has been here. At least 5 people right now are suing, claiming they were unnecessarily held against their will beyond 72 hours. They believe that the facilities could milk their insurance companies. Dozens of former patients have come forward about rape from the workers, claiming they were held down against a bed, drugged, and raped. Most disgusting place I have ever been in my life. People soiling themselves and throwing up and not being cleaned. That kind of happened with Glenn, remember, where he spilled coffee and they refused to change him. Had 2 older men fall on their faces and no one helped. Also had a disabled man in a wheelchair and no one helped him to his bed. That might have been Glenn, because this review was not that long ago. I have filed a complaint with the depth of health violations, blah, blah, blah. Staff were very rude, treated us like children or animals in a cage. This place needs to be shut down for good. So those are just a few reviews. I don't know if I've already said this because I'm just like talking, podcast or whatever, and my memory's fucked because they put me on drugs. But, fuck. So, I remember I was asked if I regret this from one of my friends. And I'm sure there's other people that's going to ask me that, and absolutely not. I don't even regret a day. I'm so thrilled that this happened because, When I got home, I was smiling. You would be miserable after that. Some people had come home with PTSD from being there. As ridiculous as that sounds, but I don't regret a thing because the pain that I went through ended up saving thousands of people. I know it's not yet. I know the hospital hasn't been shut down yet. But, hear me out. There's a big, massive lawsuit happening because of me and Michael, and I don't regret any pain. I don't regret being soaked in my urine for over 48 hours. I don't regret the rashes, the pain, the abuse, the threatening, the stuff to my throat, the mental torture, the heartache, pain. I don't regret a thing. The stress, none of it. Because I ended up helping hundreds, maybe thousands of people that are potentially going to be released because of me. And that makes me sleep good at night. So, you may be wondering the title. Well, Ash, you didn't shut down a hospital, it's still there. I have an active lawsuit going on. I have one against Onision, which is the last of my worries now, and now this. I really doubt anyone's gonna listen fully to this podcast, but if you did, comment a yellow heart emoji so I know. Would mean a lot to me, because I feel like this is so long and not like me or my videos. I'll get back on the grind. I had some projects I was working on before I was rudely interrupted by being abused. I had the J Station shit coming up and a few other video ideas. Yeah, every time I upload daily, that might mean something bad, but whatever. I'm just gonna grind. Thank you so much for listening if you did. I have merch. You should check it out. It's in the description. And, peace, I guess. Oh, wait, I have a Patreon as well and a private server, which you could access for $1. That would be cool or whatever. We could talk. If you have any questions, let me know. And I'll do a follow-up video where I show clips of me on the news with Michael sometime down the line. So, yeah. Peace.